So, today we're going to dive into a market that tells a much bigger story than you might think. We're talking about India's condom market. And trust me, it's a fascinating story of shifting social attitudes, new tech, and some really interesting business. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's start with a number. In 2023, the condom market in India clocked in at a massive 710 crore rupees. Now, that's a pretty big number on its own, but honestly, the real story is where it's going. By 2030, that number is expected to completely skyrocket to over 1,500 crore rupees. Yeah, you heard that right. We're talking about the market more than doubling in size in just 7 years.
To put that into perspective, that's a growth rate of almost 11% every single year. That is an incredibly fast and steady expansion, blowing way past what you see in a lot of other consumer industries. So the big question is, who's actually driving all this explosive growth?
Well, let's take a look at the companies right at the heart of this boom. The market is really defined by a few key players, but there's also this whole group of challengers that are really shaking things up.
You've basically got two major forces shaping the landscape. First, there's Manforce, a huge private sector brand holding a commanding 30% of the market. Then you have Nirad, the government-backed legacy brand, with about 17%. And that leaves the remaining 53%, which is a super competitive space where everyone else is fighting for a piece of the pie.
Let's talk about Manforce for a second. Coming from Mankind Pharma, these guys are the undisputed kings of the private market. They've done it through some really aggressive marketing and by offering an absolutely insane variety of products. They've captured that top spot and pretty much become a household name across the entire country.
And then, of course, there's Nirad. Run by the public sector company HLL Lifecare, this is India's oldest, most iconic brand. It's been the cornerstone of government family planning and public health programs for decades. And the scale, it's just staggering. HLL is one of the world's largest condom manufacturers, churning out over 2.2 billion units a year.
But hey, it is not just a two-horse race. You've got Kama Sutra, which is still a major player by focusing on specialty and innovative textures. Score is making some serious waves by targeting a younger, pleasure-focused crowd. Durex, of course, brings its global reputation to the premium end of the market. And then you have these cool new players like Sirona, who are carving out a niche with things like eco-friendly and vegan options.
Okay, so we know the market's on fire, and we know who the key players are. But why is this all happening right now? What are the real forces that are fueling this incredible growth?
It really boils down to 4 key pillars. First, there's a huge jump in awareness around sexual health, especially with younger people who've grown up with the internet. Second, e-commerce has been an absolute game changer. It allows people to buy products privately, discreetly, and easily. Third, the sheer variety of products available now, we're talking everything from different flavors to ultra-thin designs, has made the market way more appealing. And finally, you still have the ongoing government programs that ensure they're widely available and accessible to everyone.
And this slide just perfectly illustrates that massive shift. The whole conversation used to be just about family planning led by the government. Now, it's all about pleasure, wellness, and lifestyle, and it's driven by really sophisticated marketing. The consumer has gone from having maybe 1 or 2 basic choices to having this huge, specialized menu of options to choose from.
So all these trends are clearly reshaping the market as we speak. Let's look ahead a bit. What does this all tell us about the future, and where is this industry going next?
Just looking at this chart is powerful. The projected jump to over 1,500 crores by 2030 isn't just about selling more condoms. It tells us that this market is transforming, and it's entering a completely new phase of economic and, honestly, cultural importance.
And a huge driver for this future growth is the consumer themselves. The definition of the customer is expanding. We're seeing more women actively making these buying decisions, a huge market opening up among unmarried couples, and a younger generation that's just more informed and open than ever before. This is the real engine for the market's future.
And that future growth isn't just going to come from more users. It's going to come from more specialized premium products. This quote really hits the nail on the head. Innovation is everything. Categories that pretty much didn't exist a decade ago, like eco-friendly, vegan, or pleasure-enhanced condoms, are about to become major segments of the market.
So let's do a quick recap.
We've got a market that is growing at a crazy pace. It's led by giants like Manforce and Nirod, but it's also being supercharged by a lot of innovative challengers. The future looks incredibly bright, and it's all powered by new products, digital access, and a consumer who is more evolved and empowered than ever.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought. Is this explosive growth just a business story about a consumer product? Or, as we've seen, does it maybe point to something much, much deeper? A clear signal of a more open, a more aware, and a rapidly changing India. Definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.